Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Press Box. John Carter here this afternoon, and very pleased to be joined by the boys soccer team, Coach Ray Peckman. Ray, thank you for coming. We've got Ethan Peckman, we've got Zach McCollum, and Reed Packin. Guys, thanks for coming by. So, Coach, your first year with the program, tell us a little bit about some of the kind of interesting challenges you've had, kind of transitioning from what you've done previously to high school soccer.
Well, in the past, my majority of time was spent with recreational. So you get a different group of players coming to play rec, sometimes not 100% interested, just something they want to do. Whereas, you know, coming to high school, you know, the boys want to play, there's a lot more dedication, and they know that. So you have players that really want to get out there and play.
So what is your background then? What kind of coaching have you done?
Mainly rec. I did 10 years of rec coaching down in the city of Warren. I did AYSO as well as Warren Youth Soccer League. I then helped out at my son's travel club, started helping out on practices when they needed it. The coach wasn't available to a few games as well, and taking care of the games when the coach wasn't able to be there.
So it looks like you have an extremely young team this year. What are some of the things that kind of youth brings with it?
It's a very young team, which, again, from being down in the Warren area where you have a varsity and a JV, you're making cuts, there's so many players, to just enough players to have a full varsity team, as well as this year only having one senior on a varsity team it's a big adjustment. It's a big adjustment mentally to think about. It's not just this year we're looking at, you know, having a good season. It's the future of the program.
But it looks like your team has really kind of made some nice improvements from the beginning of the year to where we are now. Can you talk about what kind of things they've done better?
They've actually they molded better as a team. You know, when you throw a group together at the high school age that ranges from freshman to senior, it's a big gap mentally. You know, the young guys are coming in, they're freshmen, they're not used to dealing with seniors, high school's new, so to get them to kind of really mesh and talk and communicate is a bit of a struggle. They definitely have improved on that this season, where they came together more as a team. There's the older boys, the juniors, the seniors that drive. When some of the young guys need a ride to practice from games, they step up right away. So everybody really came together as a team and gets along really well.
And my impression is that high school soccer is a lot more physical than it is at the AYSO or travel level. Has that been a big transition as well?
Huge transition, and having I have two older kids in college right now, both played all years of high school. I was aware of that, and that is something that I would repeat at least every other practice, that be ready. You know, high school soccer, I tell them it goes 100 miles an hour than what you're used to. Unfortunately, the young guys are thrown onto a varsity team. They don't get that time to adjust playing on a JV team that they really should have, and they're thrown immediately against, you know, full-grown juniors and seniors from other schools. So it's a huge adjustment for the young guys.
What about some of the highlights this year? You mentioned that you've really kind of gelled as you've gone through the season. What are some of you think the best things that have happened so far this year?
You know, just the amount of effort I've seen from such a young team. You know, we played some schools that definitely outskilled us as whole, but I would see these guys that they just wouldn't give up. You know, they would give 100% till the end of the game. The beginning of the season was very hard because of the temperature on top of it. You know, we had games that you're talking 90 degrees humidity, and it was a battle. We don't have a lot on our bench depth-wise. So when we're playing those teams and we're really trying to hang in there, maybe get a win, you know, put a goal in the net, it was hard to even sub some of the players in and out because of the game was so tough.
Right. And you can sub more often in high school, as I understand it, than you say normally you would see in a World Cup game or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can sub as much as you want. Just when you have possession of the ball, you know, and the ref allows you to sub, you can sub one player, you can sub 6 players at one time. So yeah, that's fine.
So how would you describe your, let's call it, coaching philosophy? What do you like to try to do as a soccer coach at this level?
At this level, I like to remind them that even though they're at a school, that doesn't have that many players coming out. We don't have a JV team. It doesn't mean that you can't come out and not give 100%. I mean, It's a transition for me as well, being from rec, where I would make sure everybody played because everybody's paying to play.
Right.
It's a rec league too. Hey, this is high school soccer. This is a new ball game, and you got to give 100% if you want to make it out on the field and get some playing minutes. And that means not just when you're in the game, but that means every minute at practice.
And for many of us who are not particularly soccer aficionados, it doesn't appear that there's kind of plays or tactical approaches to it. But tell us about how do you think about how you attack a team and how you set up players on the field?
We look at where our strengths are, number one. If I feel I have some very strong players on my defense, I might be able to move other players up and be able to rely on those few people back there. Whereas if we don't have that strong of players on defense, you might have to add another one back on that line that kind of stays back there with them. As well as, through the season, we talk to some of the other coaches. I've talked to them after games about how their season's going. You kind of communicate about teams. Some of the boys know, some of the players locally, Marysville, Marine City. You get a little info that way. Or, if you have the time, you scout a game out. We had a Marine City and Marysville game early in the season going on at the PAC. Before one of our practices, the whole team, we all went, we watched that game, and then we have a mindset of how those two teams play.
And it looks like you're right kind of in the middle, finishing in the middle of the gold with Marysville and was it Tower, who were the two top teams?
Correct.
Talk about maybe the differences there and where you need to get to.
Well, a huge difference. Again, I keep falling back on it, but you take a school like Marysville. Their varsity has like 25 players on the bench. Their JV has 25, where we're pushing at 21 total.
Yeah.
Again, a very young team, and this year we had 9 freshmen come out. Last year, 7 freshmen come out. We're only losing 1 senior this year, and it was his only year of playing soccer. So if we can keep the program going that way, which I'm hoping we can, and get another 7 to 10 players next season come out and get that momentum going, we could build this program. It'll be a phenomenal program in a couple years, and hopefully get to the point where we can even add a JV team, which would be nice.
That would be terrific.
It would.
So guys, let's talk to the players here a little bit, and maybe Reed, we'll start with you since you're in the back there. But how did you start playing soccer? Where did you start?
I started in 6th grade playing AYSO, and that's all I really played. And I didn't think I was actually going to play soccer in high school. I didn't think about it like that. Mm-hmm. But through AYSO, I met a couple of guys who played on the high school team, and they kind of convinced me to play, and that's kind of how I got into it.
How about you, Reed? What's your history?
I've been playing soccer since I was 5, and I started playing AYSO. My brothers usually played it before me, and they got me into it.
Okay. And how about you, Ethan? You have been around for a while. I know you were here last year.
Yeah. Well, he coached me when I was young up until I was like 10, and then I moved to travel, and both my siblings had influences on my soccer career.
Okay.
And I've just been going ever since, loving it.
All right. Zach, what position do you play?
I play defense.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the defenseman. What are some of your key responsibilities? Obviously, to defend, but beyond that.
Talking is huge.
Okay.
Make sure that everyone around you knows what's going on, and marking players, making sure they don't score a goal.
Right.
Basically.
So what kind of player gives you the most trouble on defense from your perspective?
Because of my size, tall and fast. That's what usually gets me.
Okay. And excuse me. Reed, what about you? What position do you play?
I mostly play midfield.
Okay. And again, don't know much, but it seems like that position runs all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you get prepared for that?
Well, it's about getting in shape before the season.
Sure.
Which we actually emphasized a lot at the beginning of the season, running at every single practice. So I took advantage of that because I knew I'd be playing midfield, I'd be playing a lot. So I really took advantage of that and getting in shape.
What are some of your strengths as a player?
I'm kind of the guy who likes to just rush the goalie and get the ball and score. So that's kind of what I do. I'm just kind of like aggressive, getting to the ball.
And same question that I was asking with Zach. What kind of player gives you the most trouble?
Just guys who are really fast. It's hard for me to kind of keep up and stay in front of them sometimes, so fast guys can
Okay.
get to it.
And Ethan, you're the striker. What does that mean for the non-initiated?
Well, in simple terms, it means I basically score the goals.
Right.
But it's a lot more than just scoring goals and just trying to put the ball in the back of the net. Because even though I'm up top and I am the one trying to score, I have to switch with like Reed sometimes, and we switch positions. And it's a lot of running, and you have to be fast, and you just got to know your way around the ball.
What's some of your strengths as a striker?
Some of my strength is I am pretty fast. I have a really hard shot, and I do know how to move the ball pretty well.
Okay. And tell us about, from your perspective, Zach. Let's say you're looking for Reed in the middle. How do you prepare and move that ball down the field?
You just got to get his attention.
So that's back to talking.
Yeah, you got to make sure that he knows that the ball's coming to him, and you just got to put trust into him. That
Yeah.
He's going to get it.
Reed, where does Ethan like to get the ball? I'm assuming you're one of the guys passing to him.
He likes it a little bit up more, like outside the box, because he's got a powerful shot, so he can shoot from out there. But
Yeah.
he also likes to work it in, passing it in more. So he likes it up a little bit further. He's not a guy who likes it over the line, and then he's got to rush the goalie.
So one of the big differences, and I'm always curious about this, you play home games on artificial turf down at East China. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage, do you think, Ethan?
Well, it really depends on what you prefer. I like turf better because it's a little more fast-paced, and you're always going nonstop. And then other fields like grass fields, sometimes there's bumps and like slopes. So I prefer turf, but it's really just your own preference.
How about you?
I also
Zach?
like turf better because once it rains, if it's a rain game, there's no slipping, there's
Yeah.
no sliding. So it's just a clean game.
And who's your big rival, Reed? Who's the team you really want to beat?
It's always Marysville.
Okay.
It's been like that for me for the last 2 years. It's always come down to close, aggressive games, and it's Marysville.
That's a very good rival, Coach has said, and certainly from this area, picking Marysville is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, Zach, one of the things I'm always interested in, you're a junior, not many seniors, it said one senior on the team, so you and Reed are kind of the old men, so to speak, of the team. What's your role as captain with the younger, less experienced players?
You got to just make sure that they know what's going on, make them get involved with the team, make sure that they know that they're part of the team,
Okay.
and they can come to you no matter what.
And Reed, on the field, how do you work with some of the younger players to make sure their heads are in it?
You have to make sure that they stay comfortable and that they don't beat themselves up too much when they make something bad happen. Like you have to make sure that they're staying calm and that like they understand that mistakes are going to happen.
Now, do you guys do any recruiting in the corridors, so to speak, guys you played with?
Yeah.
So how do you get other people interested in soccer?
You just have to keep talking to them because if you don't keep talking to them, then they're just going to forget. But if you just keep annoying them about it, they eventually are just going to do it.
Zach, what do you like best about soccer?
Just the physicalness of it.
Okay.
You know, in the tacticalness, like sometimes you got to work your way around the ball, and that's what I like.
So, Ethan, sophomore, obviously, as a captain, done a pretty good job. What are some of the things you want to work on for next year?
Definitely some of the things is having the younger freshmen have more confidence. I know that was a problem I had my freshman year. I was very timid during my games and didn't have a lot of confidence, so definitely boosting our confidence and just working hard, just keep going, you know.
Reed, what about you? What are some of your goals for the team?
What I've seen through the freshmen in my last 2 years is that they can be shy and not so aggressive. These freshmen this year like picked up fast and being aggressive. So I just want to keep the ball rolling and just make sure that they just stick with it and stay aggressive, and so that we can just be more dominant.
So, Zach, usually when I talk to a couple captains, there's a couple captains who are the nice captains, and then there's a captain who's kind of the kick, you know what kind of captain. So, of this group, who's the one that gives the tough love, do you think?
That's tough. Probably Ethan. Ethan probably gives them the run for their money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ethan, one of the other things that's always interesting, playing for your dad, what kind of dynamics does that bring into it?
Well, like I said, I've played with, he's coached me before, so I'm kind of used to him, but it's just, I feel like I could be more of a captain, and I kind of know what's going on, and I know how he likes to coach, so I kind of, can be more of a captain for the team, and I don't have a problem with it at all.
I'll ask him later. Okay? and Reed, one of the things I also like to ask the students is particularly, how is playing soccer and participating in a varsity sport now as a captain, how does that impact you academically and socially?
Well, you're looked at as a leader throughout the school now, and so it pushes you to make sure that you're a better example for the other players, and all the teachers know who you are. They know, oh, he's the captain, so they're expecting me to do better in school. So.
What about you, Zach?
Usually my grades usually slip, but hard work because I got captain this year, it made me work harder.
Okay. Ethan, how do you manage the time? One of the things, especially fall sports, because they last a long time, how do you manage the requirements that you have as captain and as player on a soccer team, but also with the academics?
You just gotta be dedicated to both of them. You have to keep your grades up to keep playing the sport. So I kind of have that as a reassurance. Like, I always have to keep my grades up. So even if that means staying up late some nights to work on homework, you just got to do what you got to do.
Okay. Zach, who's your favorite pro player?
Definitely Ronaldo.
Okay. How about you, Reed? Somebody
Rennie-
different.
Rennie Higuita.
Oh, really?
yeah.
That's good. How about you, Ethan?
Well, I was going to say Ronaldo, but
Ronaldo's his favorite.
I don't even know. Besides that,
Yourself.
He picked it first. So. That's fine. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed talking to you. Now, Coach, we mentioned before we came on air, you've got a big game tomorrow. Let's talk about the districts and who you play.
Yeah, district started yesterday, and St. Clair drew a bye for our first game, which was kind of nice. So we're scheduled to play the winner of the Goodrich Croslex game from last night. We play tomorrow. So I went up to Croslex last night, watched the first half of the game, get an idea of what we're looking at, depending on who wins. Goodrich ended up winning that game. So tomorrow night we'll travel to Goodrich, and 6 o'clock we play Goodrich.
So without giving too much away, because I'm aware they're certainly watching in Goodrich right now,
Yep.
tell us what your plan for the game.
To start off on our toes, not our heels.
Right.
Goodrich, there's some key things I saw out there, but one thing I saw was that they're a fast team. Everything they do is fast. So we don't want to get caught off guard, find ourselves on our heels, and come behind right away.
Right.
It's hard to come back from that in any soccer game, especially when you're playing against a good team.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of turn around and ask some of the same things I asked the team. But first year in, good progress. What are some of your goals for the program for the next couple of years?
I really, number one, I've really enjoyed this first year of
That's
coaching
great.
in high school. I've had a ball. It's a great group of boys on the field, off the field. The parents have been phenomenal. But my goal is just to build the program. I talk to a lot of the freshmen. Like I said, you come in, and when you have a varsity team that's from freshmen, that many to seniors, you have a skill level that's at both ends of the spectrum.
Sure.
And there's been games where some of the boys haven't played or they got very little minutes, but I remind them to, this is their first year. They still have the rest of their high school life ahead of them. And it's important for them to be on a team, because all those minutes they spend at practice every night, that's what's going to build them as a good player.
Right.
And we're not just here for this year, we're here for the future of the program. So if we can continue building the skills on what we have and adding more players every year, like I said, I really have high hopes for this team for some really good seasons the next few years.
Well, certainly a good season this year with a very young team, and looking at the roster with a lot of freshmen and sophomores and juniors who are going to be that much more experienced next year, it certainly bodes for good times ahead.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, thank you, Ray, very much. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, boys, for coming in. Really enjoyed it. Good luck tomorrow. Bring home a victory against Goodrich.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for today on Press Box. It's John Carter saying good night, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.